So, have you ever found yourself just staring at the ceiling at 2 a.m.? You're completely desperate to sleep, but your brain is running an absolute marathon. You're replaying some random conversation from 5 years ago, worrying about a deadline that's still 3 weeks away, and somehow simultaneously stressing out over whether you remembered to buy paper towels? Well, welcome to this explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're here with us today because we are taking a fascinating and super practical journey into clearing out that exact kind of mental clutter. Look, in our hyper-connected modern world, we're constantly bombarded with information, expectations, and just noise. So if you've ever felt overwhelmed, stuck, or frankly just weighed down by that exhausting stream of runaway thoughts, you are definitely in the right place. We're going to deeply explore the powerful concepts of inner detox and mindfulness, and we'll figure out exactly how to clear out the mental junk, harmonize your mind and heart, and finally make room for something beautiful.
But first, we've got to confront a pretty harsh truth right out of the gate. With a cluttered mind and a heart full of pain and resentment, you will get nowhere. It's a pretty blunt realization, isn't it? But psychologically and biologically, it is entirely accurate. See, when we hold on to pain or we let past grievances and resentments take up all our mental real estate, we are quite literally exhausting ourselves. Think about it. Resentment isn't just some abstract floating feeling. It triggers a very real biological response in your body. It keeps your stress hormones, like cortisol, highly elevated. It is exactly like trying to run a race while dragging a massive physical weight tied to your waist. You end up expending an incredible amount of energy. You feel completely drained, but fundamentally, you're entirely stuck. You simply cannot move forward when your internal engine is burning all its fuel on the past.
And that brings us right into our first major theme, the cluttered mind.
Think about the stark contrast in how you feel on your absolute worst days versus your best days. When we're caught up in a cluttered mind, we lose all our focus to negative toxic habits. And let's be real about what a toxic habit actually looks like day to day. It's ruminating over a minor typo in an email for 4 hours, or quietly holding onto a grudge against a coworker over some perceived slight. Our attention just gets so easily dragged into this messy, chaotic loop of negativity. We end up operating entirely on autopilot, completely disconnected from the present moment. But I want you to contrast that heavy, bogged-down feeling with the incredible lightness of a calm mind. When you intentionally pull your attention back to the present moment, something really profound happens. Your mind stops racing, and it actually harmonizes with your heart. It's this incredibly intentional shift from total chaos to perfect, quiet alignment.
So how do we actually cross that bridge to get to that harmonious state? Well, we need an inner detox. Basically, this is the deliberate act of throwing away useless mindsets and beliefs so that space opens up for new thoughts. And let's be honest, we all have useless mindsets. It's that inner critic that is completely convinced you aren't good enough, or the totally irrational fear that everyone in the grocery store is silently judging your new haircut. By actively tossing out those thought patterns that just don't serve us anymore, we engage in neuroplasticity. We literally begin rewiring our brains. We relearn how to think positively, how to actually be happier, and how to spot the everyday beauty that we've been way too distracted to even notice. But here's the catch. You absolutely cannot invite those new, positive connections in without first evicting the old ones.
To really wrap our heads around the mechanics of this, I want you to imagine your inner being as a physical space, like a house that you live in every single minute of every single day. Over time, just like a real house, it accumulates junk. You get the Amazon boxes of old regrets piling up in the corner, and the junk mail of other people's opinions just scattered all across the floor. Taking out this mental trash is an absolutely essential phase for our renewal. I mean, think about it. You would never let literal garbage pile up on your kitchen counters for months or decades, right? The smell would be completely unbearable. So why in the world do we tolerate letting toxic, rotting beliefs pile up in our minds for our entire lives?
So I have to ask you a question, and I want you to genuinely reflect on this right now. Are you holding on to broken furniture? Think about your own deeply held grievances and outdated mindsets. I want you to visualize them as old, useless, broken items taking up highly valuable space in your inner living room. Imagine keeping this massive, ugly armchair with a missing leg right dead in the middle of your house. You can't sit in it, it looks terrible, and you stub your toe on it every single morning. That is exactly what holding on to a toxic mindset does. It serves zero functional purpose. It only exists to bring you reoccurring pain and frustration.
Now, once you actually recognize that broken furniture, the roadmap for renewal is surprisingly simple, but it does require deliberate intention. Just as you would finally drag that busted chair out to the curb, your inner detox starts with actively throwing out those limiting mindsets. When the negative thought arises, you recognize it and you discard it. Then comes the really crucial step of cleaning the space. You sweep up the dust of all those old thought patterns, and finally, you get to patiently and thoughtfully arrange new furniture. You begin to intentionally curate what goes into your mind. You treat your inner self with the exact same care, aesthetic appreciation, and intention that you would give to decorating your absolute dream home.
And here is the absolute best part. When you complete this cleanup, you are ultimately making space for miracles. You simply cannot put a beautiful new sofa into a room packed to the ceiling with trash. But when you create this quiet emptiness inside yourself, your cognitive load just plummets. When your brain isn't frantically running 50 background tabs of resentment and anxiety, you suddenly have bandwidth. This is exactly why learning new skills becomes dramatically easier. You finally have the actual mental energy to pick up a new language, learn an instrument, or just be deeply actively present in a conversation with someone you love. You start to effortlessly attract the exact good things you desire simply because you finally have the capacity to recognize them when they show up.
When you finally create that quiet space, this beautiful chain reaction kicks off, a real story of personal evolution. It all begins at step 1, that empty, peaceful space is created. Step 2, because the room is clear, totally fresh and entirely new thoughts can finally enter and take root. And as those new thoughts bloom, something really fascinating happens at step 3. Your daily decisions and your long-term priorities naturally begin to shift. You stop reacting from a place of stress and you start making choices aligned with a calm mind. Which leads us to step 4. This eventually cascades into a profound transformation of your entire life. A single cleared space alters a thought, which alters a decision, which alters your entire destiny.
Okay, so now that we understand the incredible power of an inner detox, let's step out of the theory for a minute. Let's actually bridge the gap between just understanding it and physically experiencing it. We are going to do a breathing reset. Returning your focus to your breath isn't just some mystical woo-woo concept. It actually activates your vagus nerve, and that signals your parasympathetic nervous system to physically lower your heart rate and drop those cortisol levels. It is the literal biological key to instantly unlocking the calm mind we've been talking about, bringing you fully into the present moment.
Seriously, let's do this together right now. Wherever you are, just relax your shoulders a bit. Step 1, without any pressure at all, just calmly take a deep breath in. Fill your lungs. Step 2, now just hold it there for a few seconds. Just sit in that quiet stillness. Step 3, on the exhale, I want you to release all your physical and mental tension. Let it all go entirely. Allow yourself to feel completely pure and deeply light. Just let all that mental clutter fade away with the breath.
And that brings us right to step 4. As you sit in that light, pure feeling of the exhale, ground yourself in profound gratitude. Give thanks for the power you have and everything you already possess. You see, gratitude is like a psychological sealant. It acts as a protective anchor right over your newly cleaned mental space. When you really appreciate the strength you have right now, it totally prevents the old toxic habits from immediately rushing back in to fill the void. It literally locks in the peace.
We've dragged out the broken furniture. We've taken out the mental trash. And through the breath, your mental space is now quiet, calm, and wonderfully empty. You've just experienced the core foundation of an inner detox. So I'm going to leave you with one final, empowering thought to carry with you for the rest of the day. Your mental space is now quiet and empty. What beautiful thoughts will you invite in next? How will you patiently and tastefully arrange your new mental home? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and truly, enjoy living in your beautiful, newly cleared space.